Une journée qui est plus particulièrement consacrée aux visions et aux travaux des parlementaires français. Nous sommes dans un monde où les champs d'affrontement se sont clairement déplacés au plus proche de notre quotidien. Je veux bien sûr parler de la confrontation des perceptions et des stratégies de communication qui sont à l'œuvre dans ce nouvel espace de conflit qui est la sphère informationnelle. Pour parler de ce sujet, je vous propose tout de suite d'accueillir les intervenants de cette prochaine table ronde. Merci.
Dear all, thank you to be there with us today to talk about a very important subject concerning the war of narratives. As everybody knows, since Russia started its massive invasion of Ukraine, we witnessed something that was already observed before, but increased definitely very deeply, namely informational operation and trying to sow chaos in society and in minds. So, with us today, we are really honored, and I think that you all are, because you know how complicated it is at now for coming here in Paris, especially due to the geopolitical context. So with us today, Victoria LIALINA-BOIKO, which is the director of the Public, Diplomacy and Communication of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine. We also are lucky enough to have Maria KOVATCH-BOUTSKO, which is the advisor of the head of the Center of Countering Disinformation in Kyiv, and she also had huge experience in communication management, including for cabinet ministries. And last but not least, let me introduce you Dmitro ZOLOTHKIN, which was Minister of Information Policy of Ukraine from 2017 to 2019, and which is the advisor of the Minister of Culture and Strategic Communication of Ukraine. So I just ask you a first warm welcoming for them all, because, I mean, thank you for us. We are very lucky to have you here. That's a huge subject. There is a lot to say about that. And please, let me start with you, Victoria. Can you give us sight about what are the MFE lessons learned of the strategic communication at war?
Thank you. Thank you, dear Christine. Before I start my presentation and answering your question, first of all, I would like to thank you all, both on your personal level and the institution that you represent. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for standing with Ukraine. Thank you, Christine, for organizing and giving us the possibility to raise the issue of strategic communication at wartime, which is of paramount importance for not only for Ukraine, but for every country who could face major crises. I will answering your question, share the lessons learned of the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the wartime communication, but let's make an overview how we made the communication a really key driver to effective policy, and we started before the full-scale war. Understanding the importance of strategic communication, in 2020 we have created a separate department at the Minister of Foreign Affairs for communication and public diplomacy, which I lead now, and in 1 year we have developed two very important comprehensive documents. One of them is communication strategy of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and here you could see on the screen the objectives of our communication. Even though that this strategy was developed before the full-scale war, it reflected the wartime reality as we've been facing the Russian aggression since 2014. So the objectives are still relevant even when we faced the full-scale war. They are clear and very understandable. I will not see them all. You can see them on the screen. So, and when the full-scale war started, I can give you some lessons learned that can be relevant for you and your organization. So first of all, speak with one voice, know your audience, react fast, kill bureaucracy when it's possible, and be well prepared. So here on the screen, you can see that speaking with one voice, it doesn't mean that we're killing the freedom of speech. But unified voice of all the stakeholders is very important to push, to promote your narrative. Algorithms matters, and this helped us to be effective on the early morning of February 24, 2022, because we have this crisis response algorithm and we know what to do if something major happens. And the third, killing bureaucracy. With first missile attack, we faced a massive IT attack on our resources, so we had no choice but to react really quickly, really fast, and without these bureaucratic procedures. That helped us to give people timely information that was really needed. And you can see on this slide that why this information was really needed. Because on February 24 and during a few more days, we faced unprecedented attention. So we use Google Analytics, and we saw that Google searches about Ukraine had it 100 out of 100. So it was like peak, the maximum that we could ever obtain. So, and we understand that that's our responsibility to satisfy this attention, to give people really timely and trustful information. For that, we use, besides the political communication, press briefings, comments of our Minister of Foreign Affairs, we have the huge digital ecosystem, and you know, the digital diplomacy, I think that's the only effective instrument that can give you the really global outreach. And we at the Minister of Foreign Affairs, we develop not only the official accounts of the MFA with, you know, more like political communication, bureaucratic wording, etc., but also Ukraine.ua ecosystem, which is the representation of Ukraine as a country all over like the social media. So here you can find the really very interesting information about Ukraine, about Ukrainians, about our culture, cultural heritage, traditions, history, etc., etc. So that is the platforms where we promote, you know, more like humanized communication. So giving people very understandable, clear information, answering their questions. And I'm really very proud that during the first week of the full-scale aggression, we succeeded to create a special platform, which is official website on war against Ukraine. And here it is available in 9 languages, and it gives you every answer to every question. And when we used this Google Analytics, we saw that people didn't understand the core, why Russia invaded Ukraine. So starting from that question, we developed a real like a huge website answering all possible questions with a photo archive, with archive of war crimes committed by Russia on the territory of Ukraine, with human stories, human testimonies of those who lived under Russian occupation. And here you can see how the communication of the Minister of Foreign Affairs reflected the wartime reality very quickly. So once bright, full, and motivated web resources, social media, they started to reflect the full-scale war that we lived in. So I know that I have only 10 minutes, but I can speak hours.
We love that.
Thank you. That's the golden rule that my team follows. If you don't tell your story, someone else will. But you don't know the way they will do it. So the storytelling is very important, and we encourage the decentralized approach for storytelling, and not only officials to tell the story of Ukraine, but also our citizens to share the story, to share the story of Ukrainian resilience, to share the story of Ukrainian unique philosophy vola. I will focus on it after a bit. And you see here that the story can be any, the storyteller can be any, and you see the cat on the screen. It's like the most famous cat in Ukraine with more than 1 million followers on Instagram. And even this account amplified the messages of the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Understanding the importance of this one voice communication. And the format can be also any. On the first picture, that was the viral video with low quality, but it depicted the moment when Ukrainian defender met with his grandmother when he occupied the region she lived in under Russian occupation. So the video was really low quality, but it was so human touching that it got millions and millions of coverage. Yeah, so here you can see the human stories of a young Ukrainian girl who lost her legs but never lost her like power of her resilience and will to live further. I won't focus on it. You can see on the screen the instrument and the algorithm that we are following when we are developing our communication campaigns, and we do understand that system always wins over creativity. And if you want to push and to promote something really very important, you just need to systematically communicate it. And for that, the communication campaign is the answer. And you see here that some of the campaign launched by the MFA, Patriot Saves Lives, Stand With Ukraine. By the way, hashtag Stand With Ukraine was invited by the Minister of Foreign Affairs 1 month before the full-scale war started. And when we launched it, we never expected that in 1 month it will be, you know, the motto of the support of consolidated support for Ukraine. Some more examples of creativity and informational campaigns. Maybe you do remember Free the Leopards, nationwide flash mob launched by the MFA in January 2023. It was an advocacy flash mob when we just waited for Rammstein decision on Leopard 2 tanks. And it was really very simple. We asked people to wear Leopard printed clothes and to ask for Leopard 2 tanks with hashtag Free the Leopard. And that's the proof when the most difficult political topics can't go viral if you know how to, in a creative way, launch them and make them understandable and easy, reproducible for the audience. And that's the results. So Flash Mob in 3 days gained more than 111 million people supported it. That's a few slides that, yeah. I'm very proud that 2 years in a row, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, taking into account that we are dealing with zero budget, I mean financial budget, finance, we received the most iconic prizes, awards in marketing spheres, such as Cannes Lions, The One Show, etc. That means that if you have an idea and if you have other stakeholders and partners to support it, nothing is impossible. And here, maybe I will stop on it because I see that you've been nervous, Vola campaign. And why I would like to focus on it here in Paris, because we started to promote Vola, a unique Ukrainian word that can't be translated because it means both will and freedom. And we treat, me personally, Vola as a unique Ukrainian philosophy. And we started here from Paris Olympics, when Ukrainian house was called Vola Space. And all the visitors who visited Ukrainian house to support Ukrainian sportsmen taking part in the Paris Olympics, they could feel this Vola and can after share the unique Ukrainian philosophy of bravery and resilience. Yeah, I maybe, the last one, Minefield Honey. That's also the creative way on how to push and promote very, very difficult topic. You know that Ukraine is the 30% of our territories is mined now, and to draw attention to this topic, together with partners, we gathered honey from the minefields near Kyiv. And now it serves us as a protocol gift to the countries who support us in the mining processes. And also it was a very effective communication campaign when describing the process of how we obtained this honey from mined fields. So, and this campaign also received Cannes Lions Award. And that's the another one proof on how if you have this idea, if you have partners on your side with this one voice to push even the most difficult topics in a creative way and make them understandable to every and each of your followers. I will stop here. Okay, promise.
That's really heartbreaking for me to have to, you know, watch on the clock. But no, I would like to turn on you, Maria, because we were talking about freeing the leopards, and we know that all the informational area and sphere is under attack. So can you explain us how Ukrainian organized defense of the informational sphere as you are representatives of the Center for Countering Disinformation in Kyiv?
Thank you very much. It's my honor and pleasure to be here today. Thank you for inviting me. Yes, you're absolutely right that Ukraine has a unique experience in countering Russia disinformation, because our country has been in epicenter of Russian hybrid attacks and constant attacks since 2014. And after full-scale invasion, these attacks became more radical and aggressive against all of our agencies, against our society. But despite all of these attacks, Ukraine demonstrated remarkable resilience in fighting back. And we achieved it because of our resilience and by following specific steps. Ukraine blocked access to enemy communication channels. In 2017, Yandex.ru and social network ВКонтакте, Одноклассники was banned. In 2021, 2 channels of very good friend of Putin, Medvedchuk, was banned. It was timely and right decision to stop spreading Russia disinformation campaigns and Russia channels in Ukraine. In this way, our government protected infospace and stopped spreading this. Second, very necessary and very powerful step is the communication inside country and creation good work of governmental Stratcom. All law enforcement agencies, including Ministry of Defense, Security Service, Ministry of Internal Affairs, Ministry for Foreign Affairs, governmental Stratcom, work closely together for fighting Russia disinformation and hostile campaign. In addition to the government Stratcom, we cooperate closely with civil society organizations, with media, and for sure with our international partners. This collaboration gave good results and proved to be efficient and protected us in crucial moments, in very important time for our survival. Next, Ukraine creates a high-quality national content. After banning Russian TV channels and social media, Ukraine began support development of pro-Ukrainian and Ukrainian language products, so music, literature. It's important for spreading even Ukrainian products, and in this way to stop spreading Russia propaganda. On February 24th, Cabmin adopted defense plan of Ukraine, which included a component of information defense and response in crisis. One of the solutions to unite Ukraine TV channels into Єдиний Marathon. Centralization of information flow has significantly reduced the panic in society and possibly spreading Russian disinformation. Even during the war, Ukraine doesn't have any censorship, any military censorship. Next very important thing is education and media literacy. Our country paid a huge attention to this direction. Our Center for Countering Disinformation has a separate unit and help people understand and develop critical thinking and understand where is truth and where is lie. For sure, sanctions against Russia propagandists proved to be efficient. A year ago, Ukrainian government imposed sanctions on 70 Russian entities and individuals. Just months ago, Zelensky imposed sanctions against 18 Ukrainian and Russian propagandists. So these simple but very necessary steps gave us chance to protect ourselves and in this way to counter Russian hostile and hybrid attacks against our country. You know, 3 years in a hot war, Russia doesn't stop and continue daily attacks against us. According to our security service, every month Russia imposed, attack us with campaigns and fix 1,000 info campaigns against Ukraine. This is a huge scale, and despite of all of these steps, we should continue our work, and especially continue work together with our international partners and reliable allies, especially now, when situation is changeable, when Europe should take more responsibility for its security. But Ukraine has a unique experience and great lessons, and we are ready to share this experience and to be supportive in this our common battle against aggressive and imperialistic Russia. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And let me now turn on Dmitro. You have a huge experience in strategic narratives, and we observed the Russification intention on the occupied territories of Ukraine led by the Kremlin, and they are constantly trying to destroy all the Ukraine as a country. So we also witness that Ukraine resists, Ukraine pushed back. Ukraine is a country with its history and is proud. So maybe this is something that could be used in order to countering things. So maybe can you give your sense on how we can use what is Ukraine in a strategic narrative view?
Thank you very much. That was really difficult to get here. This is why I'm truly honored to sit here with you, and that would not happen without this wonderful woman. So thank you very much again. You know, we just have received the information about the latest decision of the French Parliament that was presented this morning on the support of Ukraine with the statement and the call to seize all the assets of the Russian Federation that is under the jurisdiction of Belgium, and the call to the French government to make very specific, concrete steps in the field of, in the sphere of support of Ukraine and Ukraine armed forces. And in my opinion, I don't think that it would be possible without telling the stories. Like we all tell the stories to one to each other, and I can say that stories is a kind of a weapon, because Soviet Union was not destroyed by the U.S. power. In fact, you know that George Bush, when he was talking in Ukraine and giving his speech, which has been called the Kiev Chicken speech, he was trying to make Ukraine and make Ukrainian parliament not to push very hard on the independence issues and so on. So the Soviet Union was actually destroyed by Hollywood movies, by stories that they infiltrate in the Soviet society and give them some other attitudes. So the same is happening all over the world. Unfortunately, Ukraine started to be a victim of Russian stories of Russification, starting with the language issues, starting with the means of delivery of information, ending with the vision and you know, the narrative that was also supported by President Vladimir Putin with his articles, these crazy articles in 2021, saying that Ukraine doesn't exist at all. So Ukraine is a fiction. Ukraine doesn't exist. So that's pretty difficult how to, you know, to have a dialogue, peaceful dialogue with people who doesn't give you the opportunity, the right to exist even. This is why I think that in the end of the day, there was a decision to punish Ukraine for the willing to exist, because the existence of Ukraine makes the story which does not comply with the existence of the Russia as an empire. The Russian imperial idea, and I will not, you know, elaborate on that. I think you heard this story a lot of times. But the Russian imperial idea cannot be prolonged with the independent Ukraine. This is why when we're talking about the full-scale Russian aggression and the war that is happening last 10 years, last decade, this is not about the territories, this is not about the people, this is about the idea of the existence. So if idea of Ukraine as an independent country will exist, that means that Russia is not empire. So there can be both Russian empire and Ukraine at the planet Earth. There can be Russian Federation, which is being put in Russian constitution, that this is federal, democratic, law-abiding country with the ability to give its citizens the right to choose its path. But the Russian Empire cannot exist together with Ukraine. So I think that stories is a real weapon, and I'm very thankful also for being here, and I really want to once again to underline that Ukrainians are very thankful for everything that Western Europe, France is doing for our country. So I think that without the West, I wouldn't be sitting in front of you today and speaking. I think that we all would be dead by now. However, that is the opportunity that we all have, not only Ukraine. And you know, I will follow a bit Victoria's advice, and I will tell you my story. You know, when I was a little boy, my grandmother bought a big collection of Alexander Dumas books. And I can say that my first standard of values, of approach to the reality was taken from Musketeers. My favorite was the quote from Porthos saying, how to say, je me bats parce que je me bats, right? So I think the stories they developed right now. So now we have to develop a little bit pourquoi je me bats. And you know, Russians were thinking that the story of Ukrainian war will be 3 days. Europeans, till now, they're thinking that the story of Ukrainian war is 3 years. In fact, the story of Ukrainian war and Ukrainian struggle for independence is more than 300 years, 300 or 400 years. And you know that when I started to learn Ukrainian history in school, I realized that Musketeers and Cossacks, this very common senses in different countries. And I also even realized that Ukrainian Cossacks fought at La Rochelle. That may be a legend, but still very, very interesting. So the story of 300 years of struggle is rather difficult. So I will try to give you the story of the last 30 years. The story begins in 1994, when Ukraine voluntarily and consciously made a political decision to give up all the nuclear weapons and all the thought in the world nuclear arsenal. That was a unique and absolutely extraordinary investment in the world, in the international security architecture, which were never repeated after this, and which started to be a basement for the punishment of Ukraine for this decision. And when we talk, for example, about the mineral deal and the accounting, how much do we own to other countries, and when we talk, for example, about the words of Ursula von der Leyen, about 800 billion euros for this. So I just give you some numbers that I Googled from 1994. What Ukraine has invested, actually. That was 1,900 strategic nuclear warheads. That was 2,500 tactical nuclear missiles, 220 strategic carriers, including 130 intercontinental ballistic missiles, 44 heavy bombardiers. Not saying about, you know, the middle-range weapon, like, for example, 185 Scud missiles that were also, you know, given up, and they were deconstructed, of course, with the help of our American partners. So when we're talking about this kind of investment, I don't know how much this in numbers of money, because, you know, 30 years have passed and we don't know the exact information about the state of those armaments. But when we're talking about 800 billion euros, I think we can discuss the issue that they can be earned, this amount of money could be earned by the European countries, because Ukraine ceased to be a threat. Is to be a place where weapons can be used against the European nations. And Ukraine became a shield and a buffer zone between the European Union and Russian Federation, because Russian Federation received all these weapons together with bombarders, together with 160 and 222M, which are now being used to launch the missiles against Ukraine.
I see, Maria, that you are reacting. Maybe you can add something on what Dmitro said.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Dima, for this important topic. I would like to continue emphasize on nuclear threats and nuclear narratives of Russian propaganda, because during these 3 years of full-scale invasion, Russian propagandists used these nuclear threats constantly and every day. According to World of Words NGO, during 2022 and 2024, Russia used over 5,000 times the narrative about nuclear weapons. And in this way, Russia imposed different tactics of how to threat and how to use these powerful weapons in their propagandistic objectives. First of all, it's a manipulation regarding our Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. This is the biggest power plant in Europe, and Kremlin, during all of this time, used this power plant for threatening Ukrainians, for threatening Europeans, and tried to accuse Ukrainians of some kind of sabotage. During all of these years, many times they repeated this narrative that Ukraine tried to blow up this power plant. But it doesn't true, because it's Russia seized this power plant. It's Russia took hostages in this nuclear power plant. It's Russia started all of this aggression, and it's their responsibility. Second example of nuclear blackmail, it's exercise. Just a year ago, in May, June, July, Russia established and conducted 3 stages of nuclear this drill, and propagandists used this topic several times to glorify the Russian army and to threaten again and again Western societies that they could even use these weapons. Another example is the deployment of tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus. It's also a source for their propagandists to blackmail, to sow the panic, and use against us this info warfare. One another example is fakes about dirty bomb that allegedly Ukraine has this dirty bomb as it ready to blow up. But it's a lie, it's a constant lie, a regular propaganda of Kremlin. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Maria just reminded me about very important point about the reaction of Ukrainians on the nuclear threatening from the Russian Federation. Because, you know, the Vladimir Putin has said once at the Valdai discussion that, okay, if we will start the nuclear war, then they all just die and we will go to heaven. So when Ukrainians started to receive all this, you know, the information narratives about that Russia will nuke us. So some of the Kyiv inhabitants, they decided to make a Facebook event on the Facebook. And the Facebook event was has the sense that if we will really know for sure that the nuclear missile isn't coming, we are gathering in one specific place in the center of the city and starting the sexual orgy, because what we have to lose now. So that was absolutely real. That was on Ukrainian media. So this is just an illustration of how the difference is between the countries.
Victoria?
If I may jump in and to add a few phrases, and the topic of nuclear communication, nuclear threat is a very good example on how we just need to be cautious in using a rational and emotional approach when communicating to the global audience, because, you know, when you communicate that, okay, in a few days it can be like second Chernobyl faced, you can threaten people. But given this, if you're like dealing with on emotional level, but given the fact that Maria touched in her speech, that gives the overall information. And here, you know, when we develop communication strategy, information campaigns, comms products, we always see the difference between the region, between the audience, and which approach to be mostly used, emotional or rational, or both of them. And answering your question about the narratives, you know that everything starts with why. And why do you need, or why do you want to support our country? Why do you want Ukraine to win? That's our task to answer, to give you overall, like, information, because when knowing better the country, people, history, and what do we have in common, not only Dumas books, you know, but giving this information, this helps and motivates to further consolidation in supporting the democratic shared values to be promoted by both of our countries.
I like to jump to another topic. Time is running out. That's so frustrating. But we know that narratives can cross the border really very easily, as you said. And a part of what you exposed is not always targeting Ukrainian public opinion, but Western opinion. So it remind me, and I'd like to ask you, how do you think, how do you manage collaboration at NO, and what do you learn concerning collaboration that is needed in order to face, to react, and to anticipate what you are facing from the Russian aggressors?
Thank you for this question. It's really very interesting, and from the February 24, from the beginning of the full-scale war, our minister, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, showed the unprecedented openness related to collaboration. And I can't even remind the sphere in which we didn't collaborate efficiently with the representatives of Ukrainian influencers in different spheres, like starting from, public diplomacy is a part of strategic communication. And we define different spheres of its implementation, like cultural, culinary, sports, scientific, etc. And in each and every sphere, we do have reliable partners who are really, who volunteered to amplify the voice of Ukraine, the unified voice of Ukraine, and be this ambassador of Ukraine and Ukrainian. And you're right, it's very important not only to focus on your traditional partners who maybe understand you better than the others. For example, I'm talking about the so-called Global South, where Ukraine unfortunately was underrepresented during decades. And the war showed us once again how important this global support, the global consolidation is. And after approving the political strategic documents, we at the Department for Communication and Public Diplomacy, we developed the first ever communication strategy, Ukraine-African region, Ukraine, Latin America, and the Caribbean. And this serves as a communication roadmap, not only for our diplomatic representation in the regions of in the countries of the so-called Global South, but all of Ukrainian stakeholders dealing with and communicating with the region. For example, if we're talking about Africa, that's Grain from Ukraine humanitarian initiative launched by President Zelensky on securing food security in Africa. So for different stakeholders, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of Culture, Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Infrastructure. So these documents serves a really comprehensive roadmap, how to communicate, how to reach out the audience that are not familiar with Ukrainian history, Ukrainian tradition, and Ukrainians, our lifestyle, our the way we are. So that's really very important, and we see how the audience are different from each other. And if we're talking about Africa, like different countries, different approaches. And here, taking into account how our resources are limited and scaled, the paramount importance is to know your audience and which message will resonate. I'll stop myself here and pass the floor to Maria, maybe, yeah?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Victoria, you're absolutely right that partnership and collaboration, this is a key instrument for our success in Ukraine and abroad. I represent Center for Countering Disinformation, which is the working agency of the National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine. In CCD, collaboration, partnership is very important. In Ukraine and domestic level, we collaborate with our security agencies, with civil society organizations, with media, and for sure with our international partners such as NATO, European Union, and on the bilateral level with many countries. And we have a great relationship with France. In this time when Europe experienced challenges for its security and defense, we must collaborate more efficient and be closer with together. Now we are witnessing the creation of a new power, a new coalition of willing. France and the United Kingdom demonstrated leadership in Europe and proposed this hopefully powerful instrument for providing security in Europe. I think this is a great example and could be a productive collaboration in Europe. And now dozens of countries want to join this coalition of willing. I do believe that a strategic communications component must be included in the work of this coalition. And countering disinformation and information attacks of Russia and other actors must be included in this work of this format. We need together develop a strategy with clear views, with clear strategic goals, and Ukraine must be an integral part of this strategy. Because we have experience, we have a combat experience from our militants. And the great idea of deployment of a peacekeeper in Ukraine in framework of this coalition could be supported with peacekeepers of information sphere. Because Russia will not stop its hybrid attacks against us, against Europeans. And we need to think about the future steps and how to deter our information space and be stronger together. On the operational level, it would be great to continue our daily collaboration, to spread truth and to debunk lies. And for sure, our center and our agencies are ready to collaborate closer and work together on our common strategy, which will make us stronger. Thank you.
Thanks to you. Going on the question of collaboration, of partnership, of being more efficient, Dmitro, we told us about strategic narratives that can be pushed. Can you explain us how we can deploy it more efficiently, in your opinion? How it could be more, maybe a smarter approach and like a very operational and efficient things, if you may?
Thank you. You know, yesterday I was present in one of the sessions on the forum. Maybe some of you was also interested, which calls FICINT, Fiction Intelligence. Very interesting approach how to tell stories, and through the stories got some new knowledges about the reality, about the world. And getting back to the issue of the challenging the fact of existence of Ukraine, I would compare this to the world-known and world-successful story makers, which are Hollywood, Netflix, Marvel, DC. And when you're talking about these, like, top of the list things, you have to speak about superpowers. So people with superpowers. I think that Ukrainian superpower is survival. So 300-400 years. What we do, we survive. We survive very successfully. We survive more successfully than any other nation in the world because we are being challenged in terms of our existence. And answering your question, I think that making this story and providing this superpower, this story can be united, not only Ukrainian. That can be the story about all of us. And Ukraine can contribute as only one of the actors of the one characters to this story, but also the other characters from other countries, from other unions. And I want also to relate to the words of our colleague Oksana Melnik, who is saying in her comments and her statements in the French media that Ukraine is not a problem. This is a solution. A solution which brings you the perspective of how actually we want European future and European security and European narrative will look like in the future, and what we have to do to make it better and what we have to do to make it happen. I think that, you know, all of the people and all of the audience, they stick to the winners mostly than to the losers. They stick to the winners rather than to the people who are always asking for something. And I think that it is very important to underline what we have witnessing the last 30 years as I started. So the period that I was telling you is ending at 2014. And all this period, Ukraine were attacked on this existence. You remember there was a gas wars in 2004, 2007. Russian Federation was challenging Ukraine about the ability to play a role in international relationships. The clashes on the UN base and so on. So in 2014, the revolution of dignity of Ukraine started because of the decision that was provided by Russian pressure to Ukraine, not signing the association agreement with the European Union. However, I think that this period that we are discussing, from 1994 to 2014, that period, we can say that if we see this as a boxing round, that was won by Ukraine. Won by Ukraine because Ukraine remained united, Ukraine provided the democratic elections, Ukraine provided the revolution of dignity when we were dissatisfied with how the country is being managed. The next period is from 2014 to 2022. This is 7 years of war, 7 years of that started with the annexation of Crimea, but I can say, I can be sure that we have won this round, because despite of the war, despite of the annexation of Crimea, we have received the visa-free regime with European Union, we have provided the reforms, and we have provided 4 elections, 2 presidential and 2 parliamentary elections, fully reshuffling the situation in the country and bringing new people to the power. And when people, some media says that Zelensky could be a dictator, well, good luck with this point of view, because we have another story for you. So the next period started, unfortunately, with a full-scale aggression in 2022, and in my humble opinion, is ending till 2023, because despite of the full-scale aggression, despite of the occupied territory, after Ukraine started to receive Western support, Western weapons, and Western political decision, the biggest part of the occupied territory in Ukraine was liberated. And just because Putin has started to think that he can lose this war, he started to use the nuclear blackmail that we also discussed. And because of this blackmail, there was a decision to stop the full support of Ukrainian armed forces. And this is why we stepped into next period from the start of 2023 till now, which can be described with all the analysis that were published in 2023, which called the stalemate. So this is no victory, no loss. So now we are somewhere in the middle in the stalemate. Talking about this periodization, I can guarantee you 100% that there will be in the next period of this war, next period of this struggle for the independence. The key is, what is Ukraine's role and what is Ukraine's narrative in this also survival act in the next period, and what is the European role in this survival act? What is European vision of this next round? Because this is inevitable. Nothing will stop, neither with a ceasefire agreement, nor with any kind of other issues, because we have 300 of history of doing these negotiations. So that will continue. The only one solution for this is changing the Russian Federation from the inside, which already is being put in the European resolution that was adopted in the February of 2024, which says that the European community, European Parliament, sees the end of the war as the victory of Ukraine, which means refederalization, de-imperialization, and decolonization of the Russian Federation. And in this, and to make a resume, I don't believe that the country like Russia exists. I believe that Russian Federation exists. Despite of the fact that Russia and Russian Federation are two names of the country which are being put into Russian constitution, I think that the Russian Federation can exist successfully because this is a federation, a community of different subjects of the federation, and they did it voluntarily. Tatarstan or Chechnya or Siberia or Yakutia, they can be the parts of the Russian Federation because this is the federal agreement that they had back in 1994. But Tatarstan cannot be Russia. You know, when singer Shaman, who is very now popular in Russia, when he's singing "I'm Russian, я русский," and when young students in the school in Tatarstan are coming back home to their mothers and they asking, why should I learn by heart the song "I'm Russian"? I'm not Russian, I'm Tatar. So why should I learn it by heart? Why should I, you know, sing "I'm Russian" all the time, all day? So I think that this is the only our looking forward narrative that will continue despite of the situation in the negotiations, which I hope will be successful. No one, like Ukrainians, wants to stop the war. No one, as Ukrainians, wants to stop the killings. But I think that the new period is inevitable, and it's up to us how that will look like. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Of course, Maria, I see that you want to react.
I would like to reflect to that just Dima mentioned about the story and storytelling and movies. That's super important. Very often I have a feeling that I'm living in an action movie. You know, many of you like action movie maybe for 1 hour or maybe for 2 hours. But I can imagine that Ukrainians are living in action movie for 3 years, just experiencing the daily attacks, strikes, and ruination of our infrastructure, and feeling all of these. A lot of Ukrainians, millions of Ukrainians, strive to change the genre of this movie to some success story, for love story, for victory story of our country. And we need to do everything possible to change this movie and to create together some positive story. I think that we have all chances and all possibilities to do so. Believe to us, support us, and we will together celebrate our common victory.
Yeah, thank you, Maria. That's really very motivating and of your reflection. So, and I just wanted to add like a few points that really there is no other country as Ukraine that does want peace as we do. And I think that we proved it during years, decades, years, and last weeks. But it should be just and long-lasting peace to avoid these possible scenarios that Dmitro imagined. And you know, the history showed us that appeasement never worked. It didn't work in 1939, it didn't work in 2014, and it won't work. So just and long-lasting peace, that's the only one question to answer to your question.
A huge thank you to all of us for your fascinating inputs and to share it with us.